same. Feet were involved. When you figure it out, let me know. So I'm having kind of a crappy year and I'm ready to talk about it because I have some shit to say. Hey, what's up? My name is Britt. I'm new to the BookTube platform. I'm new to any of the platforms, to be honest. If you see me looking down, it's because my laptop's right here because I have the memory of a goldfish. Alright, so this is going to be a January-February wrap-up because this is the first time I'm doing a wrap-up, one. And two, I'm not entirely sure what the heck I'm doing. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of everything and figuring it out as I go along. So in the months of January and February, I have read a total of 18 books so far. And of those 18 books, I have only had one 5-star. I've also had one DNF. Other than that, it's all been like 2 stars or 4 stars. And I'm so sad about it. I want more 5 stars. I want this to be a good reading year, and so far it is not. It's not, and I'm sad about it. So I somehow managed to read 9 books in both January and February. The first book that I read this year was Grimstone by Sophie Lark. The book is about Remy and her brother who inherit this dilapidated mansion from their uncle who they haven't talked to since they were like kids, essentially. And the next door neighbor is a doctor who everybody is terrified of. He's kind of like a Dr. Death because everyone in town thinks he killed his wife. So throughout the book, you have somebody who is trying to sabotage Remy and almost hurt her, or does hurt her. It is a dark romance. There's suspense. I ended up giving the story 2 stars because it had a strong start and we somehow went off the rails. There was absolutely zero connection between Remy and the doctor, but there was a lot of smut. There was a lot of spice. They went straight into BDSM without a single conversation to be had. Also, this is the first and only book where I have read foot smut. Feet were involved. So that happened. This was the first book that I read this year, and I was really hoping for a strong start, and there was foot smut. And I'm pretty sure this is why I've had such a not great reading year so far. I'm blaming this entire crappy year on this book. So the next book that I finished, I am continuing on my graphic audio journey, and I went through ACOTAR already. I was going through Fourth Wing, and I wanted to re-listen to Iron Flame before Onyx Storm came out. So I finished part 2 of Iron Flame. It's Fourth Wing. Like, come on. All of the audiobooks that I'm re-listening to, I'm just giving them the same rating as the book. So it got 5 stars. But I will say, I liked Iron Flame so much more this time around. I don't know if it's because I've had a year to process everything, or it hit differently while I'm listening to it. How do I say? It hit different audibly. I don't know. I just really liked it more than I liked it last year, which was awesome for me. It was a great time. The third book that I read was Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands by Heather Fawcett. This is one of the books on my 25 for 25, which I did make a video about. I'm not sure if I should post it. It's like 90% edited, but like it's March. Does anybody even care to see a 25 for 25 at this point? So silently, this was one of the books on my 25 for 25. And I only gave it 2.5 stars. I read the first one when it came out, and I remember liking it. I liked it. It was like a cute, cozy fantasy, but it seems like Emily regressed in this book. She was a know-it-all and kind of full of herself and pig-headed, and she just really irritated me. I don't like the way she treats Wendell and her niece. That was just gross. She doesn't like cats. I'm a cat person, so that's an issue for me. And I honestly can't see why anybody ships Emily and Wendell together because I personally don't feel chemistry. I don't see the connection. She doesn't treat him well. I just don't understand why people ship them so hard, personally. The fourth book that I read this year was Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Paige Toon, and oh my god. This was the first romance book that I've read in like 3 months. Like romance only, not like fantasy or dark romance or any of that. Oh my god, it was so good. I gave it 4 stars. I was eating it up. So, this book deals with grief, loss, infidelity, how to handle a relationship with a parent that has left you for another family. This book went so much deeper than I expected it to, and I ate it up. It was so the book has Ren and Anders. Ren finds out that her husband has fallen in love with somebody else. So she flies to America to get away from that town that they live in and build a relationship with her father, who also fell in love with somebody else while he was married to her mom. Ouch. And Anders is kind of the boy next door. His parents live there, and he's dealing with the loss of his wife. And so they're both dealing with different types of grief and loss, and they kind of find solace in each other. And they learn how to move on and fall in love again. And I just think it was so cute. Blessed, because I needed a cute book at this point in time. I then read Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. It's the 3rd book in her Rome, Kentucky series. I'm just really realizing I have no idea what this series is. They're interconnected standalones, and they follow a brother and his 3 sisters. This one deals with the oldest sister, Emily, and her rival / fellow teacher, Jack Bennett. So they have been rivals / competing with each other for years, like probably a decade plus, definitely since college at least. And he moves back into town, and actually he moves right next door to Emily and starts doing construction on the house. These two are trying to one up each other. There's a lot of animosity. They both have their own secrets that they're hiding from the entire world. And then she needs his help with something. So they kind of team up and hatch a little plan. I gave this book 3.5 stars. And it is actually my least favorite book in the series so far. I didn't really like Emily. Like, she was just giving Mean Girl vibes, because she had the entire town freeze him out to get him to move. In this economy, who can afford to move once, let alone twice? Like, girl, stop it. She was just conniving. Like, I can see hating people. I can see having animosity towards somebody. I can't see being like, I want to force this person to move. But then again, I don't even know my neighbors, so maybe I'm lucky in that department. I don't know. I then read Nightfall in the Garden of Deep Time by Tracy Higley. This was another 2 stars for me, because I am not the target audience for this book, and I accept that. There are going to be people who love this story. I'm not one of them. I thought it would be a cute magical realism type book, and it did not give me that. This book follows Kelsey, who inherits her grandma's bookstore once she goes into hospice, and there's this vacant lot next door. And she finds out that when she goes there at the right time of day, she falls into this magical nighttime party where other artists and creatives from multiple eras are sitting there and socializing with each other. Like Agatha Christie. There were more, but I don't read classics. Other classic writers, classic musicians, all these like big named people who we might not be where we are today if we didn't have their artistry. And they all want Kelsey to do something. And so the book revolves around her trying to figure out what it is that she needs to do to help them. I'm probably doing a really bad job explaining this. I feel like this book would be really good for people who enjoy literary classics and who know who these people are. And since I'm not one of those people, I felt zero connection to this character. And I spent half of the book wanting to DNF it, and the other half of the book regretting that I didn't DNF it. Which I could have DNF'd it, but at that point I was so far in that like I'm stubborn. I then wanted to try my hand at graphic novels, and the one that I had accessible to me was Piper by Jay Asher, and it's about the Pied Piper. The artistry was beautiful. The story was quick and easy. It's a graphic novel, and I don't have much more to say other than that. Beautiful art, Pied Piper. I gave it 3 stars. I then read The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and this might be my first Lynn Painter book. I think it is. I ended up giving it 4 stars. And for some reason, I thought this was an adult book, but it's actually YA. It didn't hurt the story for me. I still enjoyed it. I still had a great time. I don't know where I thought it was adults though. I don't know. But they're teenagers. It follows Emily Hornby, who somehow ends up in a time loop where she keeps reliving Valentine's Day over and over and over again. And she keeps trying to do little things to change the outcomes, but the outcome is always the same. She always crashes her vehicle into this boy. She always runs into this boy, Nick, who she doesn't really know she knows of. She always catches her boyfriend cheating on her. She finds out her dad wants to move. All these things that would derail would derail most people, to be honest, especially a teenage girl who's going through as much as teenagers go through. I don't think I've been doing a good job of explaining that either. I thought Nick was adorable. I thought their romance that they developed was super cute. My only wish was that in the days where she's redoing her days, she has this conversation with her dad. A very necessary conversation, and it's one of the days that ends up being redone. So that conversation never happens, and I was really sad about it because I wish they had had that conversation. I then ended January with Lights Out by Navessa Allen. Nowhere in my reading journey did I ever think I was going to read a serial killer or stalker romance, let alone enjoy one of those romances. I've only dipped my toes into the dark romance world. I've done the mafia romance. I've done like the dark fantasy. I love the dark fantasy. Stalker? Not my thing. I didn't think. I never thought I was going to like a stalker romance, and yet here we are. I gave Lights Out 4 stars. When you figure it out, let me know, because I'm as surprised as anybody else. I'm shocked how much I love this. And maybe I shouldn't have been. Well, there so many people were talking this book up, especially the audiobook, which is what I listened to the point where I was like, when I first read the synopsis, I'm like, nah, not for me. And then I read the synopsis 5 more times and I was like, no, still not for me. And then I was like, fine, I'll add it to my TBR. And then I downloaded the audiobook and I ate it up. I ate it up so much. I'm almost kind of speechless. It was humorous. It was entertaining. Once I accepted that everybody was going to be unhinged, I had a great time. I had a great freaking time. So much so that I'm actually super excited for the second book, which happens to be Mafia. I don't know how we ended up here, but we're here. We are here. And I'm not upset about it. So in comes along February, and I again started this month with a Sophie Lark book, a dark romance. I don't know if I got super confident and thought because I liked Lights Out so much that I would like more. And so I read There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. I do not like all serial killer stalker romances, which I knew, to be fair. I think Lights Out might have been a fluke. Yeah, this one's not for me. Not for me at all. I rated it 2 stars. And I don't think it's Sophie Lark because I read the first 4 books? The first 3 books in the Brutal Birthright series, and I thought they're great. They're great little palate cleansers. This book follows Mara and another artist. What was his name? I don't remember what his name was. Something regal and sophisticated that says I have money. What was his name? And the synopsis doesn't tell you. Cole. His name was Cole. So Mara is a struggling artist trying to make a living. She shares a house with like 18 other people. And then you have Cole, who is a well-known artist in the art world. He has a lot of money. He's rich. He kills people. And then you have, I believe his name was Alistair, who is just like Cole, rich, well-known in the art world, also a serial killer. Except he is like absolutely unhinged to the highest degree. Get that man under the prison. They both set their sights on Mara. and Alistair does attack her. And Cole kind of takes her under his wing and protects her. Ish. While also being a creep who wants to control her. The book wasn't good. It was not good. What's irritating is I really wanted to find out what happened because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger since it's a duology. And I tried to find spoilers of what happens, but some people have learned to be quiet. They were almost kind of hard to find. So I still don't know 100% what happened, but I'm not curious enough to actually read the second book. I'm shutting the door on that duology. I'm good. I then read a small book called Witch by Ian Robb Wright. It's almost like a prequel to the Manuscript series, or I think it's called the Manuscript series. I was kind of confused because the synopsis for the book had nothing to do with the actual book, because in the synopsis it talks about this number of manuscripts that were found throughout the world, either stating when the world was going to end or when around that time when the world was going to end. And everybody who reads these manuscripts disappears or is never heard from again. That's what I was expecting. This book, it has to be like a prequel building up to that world or something, because it's just about these two kids who stumble across this woman who is chained in the middle of the woods, and they free her, and it turns out she's evil. The book wasn't great. I mean, they're like 13, 14 years old, and I'm double that, so I'm more than double that. So reading their conversations was just kind of irritating to me, to be quite honest. That's really all I have to say about that. The next book that I read this year, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there on my Fourth Lane ACOTAR shelf, apparently. James Patterson. Anyways, Onyx Storm. This was the first and only book this year that I have given 5 stars to. Does it deserve 5 stars? It kind of feels more 4.5 to me. But I love this world. I love Xaden. I love the dragons. You can't make me rate it less than a 5. You can't. I love this world. So it's a 5-star for me. It also took me 3-4 weeks to read because I was so nervous, anxious, apprehensive, excited, terrified. I felt so many emotions reading this book that I couldn't throw myself into it. And then when I found out we're not even getting the next book for like 2 years, I wanted to savor every second of it. So I took my sweet ass time reading this book. And all I can say is, Xaden, they could never make me hate you. I don't care how evil you become, they can't make me hate you. You are #1 book boyfriend always. And I stand on that. I don't think I really have to tell you what it's about, Fourth Lane. You know it. You either hate it or you love it. It's the 3rd book in the series. Some of the theories I've seen are making me terrified. Some of the theories, Larry Reed's put up a theory video, and I agree with some, and others break my heart, and I don't want to think about them. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, actually, that was another one of my 25 for 25 books. So that means 2 are done so far, which leads me to my DNF, which was another 25 for 25 book. And that was The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. You know, like 14th century Dante Alighieri. I don't know if it's because I played Dante's Inferno video game and I loved it. I loved it so much that I was expecting so much more from this book. I DNF'd halfway through Purgatorio. So I made it through Inferno. We got to Purgatorio. I was so bored. I listened to the audiobook and it had a full cast audiobook and they were doing the voices and all that. And I thought it would make me love it. And it did not. It did not. It was a struggle. So I DNF'd that one and moved on to another one of my 25 for 25. So that's 4 down. January, February, that is 4 down. I'm doing so good. This is the first time I've made a TBR ever. And I'm so proud of myself for actually sticking with it. Like, this is great. Okay, that being said, A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. This was completely different from her other 2 books that I have read. I've read Spells for Forgetting, which was about witches and magic. and I only gave that 3 stars. And then, of course, The Unmaking of June Farrow, I gave that 5 stars. I love that book. It is historical, magical realism, time jumping type. If you've never read it, I don't want to spoil anything for you. This was more mystery. It's about 2 twins and a sister and a brother. And the brother is killed. And so the sister goes to figure out what happened because they share that twin connection and she knows something's wrong. She knows that he was murdered and it wasn't an accident like the police believe it was. The only like magical realism aspect to it is that she feels and sees her brother. But it's not like prevalent enough that it's the entire story, but kind of is. I gave it 4 stars. I had a good time. I then did another little shorty called Comfort Me with Apples by Catherine Valente. I don't know what to say about that. My mind ended up making it much darker than it ended up being. I thought we were going dark here because I'm pretty sure it was labeled as like a horror. Maybe I'm misremembering. It ended up being much more religious than I expected. Actually, I didn't expect any religion, so there was a lot more religion than I expected there to be. The ending was kind of a letdown, but I was still curious and intrigued throughout the entire story, so I gave it 3.5 stars. Let me just hold that thought. It revolves around Sophia, who was quite literally made for her husband. Her entire being surrounds her husband. All she cares about is her husband. That is her only existence in life, is her husband. Like, when he's not around, how can I make things better for him for when he is around type thing. And then she kind of starts finding weird things around the house, like, I don't know, finger bones and hair. And you get the point. I then read The Risk by Elle Kennedy, which is the second book in the Briar U series. I read the first book about this time last year, and I was super let down. It was nothing like the Off-Campus series. I didn't really like the characters, even though I should have, because Summer is Dean's sister, and Colin was kind of perfect. I just didn't feel it. I did not feel it. So I had zero plans of going back to read the rest of the Briar U series, but I realized I wanted something kind of romance and cute and easy to read. Hockey romance. Let's finish Briar U series. And this one revolves around Jake and Brenna. I gave this book 4 stars because I love Jake. Jake is great. Jake is up there with Dean and Garrett for me, who are my favorite off-campus boys. I enjoyed this book so much better than book 1. I liked their chemistry. I loved Brenna's sass and how she wasn't going to give Jake a single inch. And I love that Jake was determined to get under Brenna's skin. I just love them. I loved everything about them. What I did not like was the Rupi and Hollis storyline, and I really, really did not like that they ended up together, because that's kind of stalker romance all on its own, and it was toxic as hell, and I don't like them, to be quite frank. I then found out about The Incident, which is a little novella from The Score, which is Dean and Allie's book in Off-Campus series, who I love. Of course I read it. It was like 6 pages, so I didn't rate it. It was just nice to see a cute little Dean and Allie moment. Then I read The Play, again by Elle Kennedy. It's the 3rd book in the Briar U series, and this one, I really don't know if you can see me. This one revolves around Hunter and Demi. I again gave this 4 stars, but I only gave it 4 stars solely for Hunter because Demi came off as pushy and self-absorbed, and I did not like the way she was moving. Hunter made a promise to himself back in Jake and Brenna's book that he was going to be celibate for the hockey season. It was really important to him. He lasted like 7 months, 9 months, I don't know. And it was super important to him to keep that vow, and it became super important to Demi to break that vow so she could have him as a rebound. And I just thought that was really icky. That was really gross to me. And she kept kind of like pushing him, and he gave in. And of course, he's like, I'm so happy I broke my vow of celibacy, but like, you shouldn't have had to. She should have fucking waited, and it pisses me off that she didn't. And then Ruby and Hollis are still there. Why am I still dealing with Ruby and Hollis? I don't like them. I don't. Oh my god. The ending with TJ dealing with some serious mental health issues, I did not like it. I did not like the way that played out. It came so far out of left field. It was unnecessary. It was very unnecessary. And her ex-boyfriend and her dad were gross. So really, this entire book was filled with dumb people that I didn't like. And then Hunter, who I didn't like in Summer and Colin's book, and yet he ended up being the saving grace for this book for me. And then lastly, the last book that I read in February was All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowell. This book again follows two twins and the main character. Why can I remember the twin who was murdered, but not her name? Ridley. It follows Ridley, who has become a podcaster that helps solve cases for missing and murdered people. And her sister Avery was abducted and they assume murdered when they were when they were in college. She finds this missing girl who she believes is the start of all of it. She thinks that the man who killed her sister started with this girl named Emerson. And so she's investigating Emerson's case to try and figure out what happened to her sister. Great storyline, great plot line. The connection felt kind of flat. Actually, the connection between the two main characters, non-existent. They gave insta love, I'm not entirely sure why they liked each other. I felt absolutely nothing for either of them. And also, they make it a point to drive home that it's impossible to break into the camaraderie of small towns because they're so connected and protective of each other. And yet she's there for like a week, does absolutely nothing, and this entire town is ride or die for her. And I don't know why. She absolutely did nothing to these people, like for these people. And they're ready to go to bat for her and like kill people. I wish there had been, I was very much told and not shown. Like why did these people come to this reaction? I don't know. There are also things that kind of piss me off, and I don't know if it's because I'm a criminal justice student. It's so dark in here. I'm gonna turn on this light just for now. Ooh, bad lighting, so yellow, I can tell. Anyways, because I'm a criminal justice student, I noticed these things, but the man she falls in love with is a cop. And there is an incident where somebody breaks into the police station and into the evidence logger and steals the files for Emerson's case. And naturally, like a cop should, he investigates Ridley, whose entire purpose is there for Emerson's case. And Emerson and the entire town get pissed off at him and they're like, you shouldn't have investigated her. You know why she's here. That's not how it works. People lie all the time. Cops need to investigate everything. I don't want some half-assed cops to be like, well, I know her. She wouldn't do that. You just met her 2 days ago. You don't know her. You don't know what she would do to get a story. You absolutely should have investigated her. But here he is apologizing for doing his job, and it irked me so much. And this happened more than once. And I'm just like, why? I want my cops to do a thorough job when there are missing and murdered people. I'm sorry. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. That being said, because it almost sounds like I hate it, I didn't. I was intrigued. I was interested. I wanted to know what happened. I was let down by the ending. That final twist fell flat on its face. I didn't like it. But it's still a good book, and I would recommend it. In fact, I think this book is great for romance readers who want to move into that mystery suspense genre. This would be really good for people who want to move into those mystery books, but they also want romance. And that is it. Those are the 18 books that I have read so far this year. I hope with my entire being that I find books that I absolutely love, I obsess over, I want and need more 5 stars for my own sanity. I cannot just keep going with 1 5-star over 2 months. What is that, like 6 5-stars in a year? Oh no, we cannot do that. We cannot do that. I need help. I need to find books that I love because these 2 stars, 3 stars are not working for me. They are not working for me. Anyways, that being said, thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching my video. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. And let's hope for good books for both of us, for all of us. I want us all to have good books this year. I need to have good books this year. Please. Yeah. Thanks for watching.